Hello everyone. My name is Yves Ndashimye. I'm going to be the host of today's event. I'm from Rwanda High Commission. Today we're going to remember 26 genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. And we are going to host this event in different countries, Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, as well as Singapore. In today's event, we will be live on webcasts, and the High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda in Singapore, His Excellency Dieu Uwihanganye, is going to start by lighting a candle and take a minute of silence. We would like to request everyone, wherever you are, to stand up and take a minute to honor our victims of genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. We're going to light a candle, also which will be done by His Excellency Dieu Uwihanganye, together with his spouse. Thank you. Thank you, Excellency. We have a testimony from Miss Frida Umuhoza from Australia. She's a genocide survivor, and she's going to tell us her story of what happened in 1994. Thank you.
I was born and raised in Rwanda. I was one of 6 children. I had 3 brothers, 2 sisters. My father was a businessman and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. At the time the genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda started, I had just turned 14. I had no idea I was a Tutsi until I started school at the age of 6. The principal came in the class, asked how many Hutus and how many Tutsis and how many Batwa were in the class. And a friend of mine is the one that told me, stand up, you're a Tutsi. And since then, I knew that was referred to as a cockroach and a snake, less than a human being. 1990, when the RPF started, then we knew that we were on the list of the people that are supposed to die. There was a radio station, private radio station called LTLM, that was purposely there to plant and put hate speech on the radio. And during that time, our friends also told us from school that we were on the list of the people that are supposed to die. I went back home and I told my mom about it. My dad's business at that time had started suffering because they made it very difficult for people to move from one town to another. So my dad couldn't travel for his business. But so Tutsis had already started being killed during that time. My dad was put in jail for being accused that he was supporting the RPF. And so we knew that things were going wrong. 1994, when the president's plane, when the Hutu president Habyarimana's plane was shot, it was then announced over the radio that it was official that the killing should start. We already knew that machetes had been supplied in all the villages, in all the areas. The killing didn't start in my area until probably the 3rd week of April. So we left home, we started hiding in bushes. My mom had a plan and divided us into groups. Myself, my sister, and my cousin, who was at my house, were sent to the neighbor's house. We've been running for weeks and weeks. And then in May, they made an announcement, which was a lie, to tell the people that they weren't killing anymore. We then believed them, and we went, but we didn't even have a choice anyways. We went back home, but there was no home to go back to. My home was demolished. Homes were being demolished or burned. We passed by my house, which was already demolished, and we kept going to my grandpa's house. My grandpa had been a teacher, really wonderful man. In the community, he was very respected. So when we got to his house, he was still alive. They had told him that they were not gonna kill him, but let him be there, not give him no food or drink until he dies after they kill everyone in the village. We were very happy to see my grandpa and to see my whole family come back. My mom came back with my brothers and 2 boys of her best friend that she had been helping. My father also returned home that same week. So I was very happy to see my whole family still alive during that time. We hadn't been there too long, and then they came and took all of us to the roadblock. Lots of other people had returned to their villages as well, and so we were all taken to the roadblock. In my village, to be shot, you had to pay. Remember, we are referred to as snakes and cockroaches. So really, we deserved the worst death. So to be shot, it was an expensive death. You had to pay for it. But we had no money. When we got to the roadblock, they asked us to pay for a grenade. My grandfather told them we didn't have any money. We were then told to go back home. And on the day that they were supposed to bury the president, Habyarimana, that was the day that then they had a plan that all the Tutsis that were still alive during that week were supposed to be killed. That's now in May. It was a Saturday, and they came to my house in the morning. We started hearing very early in the morning, we heard children screaming at the neighbors and saying, "Please forgive me, I will never be a Tutsi again." Very little children who believed that the worst crime they ever committed was being a Tutsi. The next turn was ours. They then came to our house. We were 18 people, my grandparents, 4 of my aunties, my siblings. My youngest sister had already been killed a little bit before the genocide. So it was 5 of us during that time. So my 3 brothers and my sister and I and my mom. My dad was hiding on the roof on the top of the house. He'd been there for weeks. And so 18 of us, we were told to get out of the house, and we were taken to a ditch where we were supposed to be buried, killed and buried in that ditch. When we got there, it was all our friends and our neighbors. You weren't killed by people from so far away. You were killed by a friend, a neighbor, someone that you've loved. My father, like I said, had been a businessman for a long time and had helped most of these people that came to my house to kill. My grandfather tried to talk to them and ask them to let us go. But the man who was leading the group said that the Tutsis were the only enemies that they had, and they had to finish the job, meaning killing. We were then led to that ditch. When we got there, you had an opportunity to choose what weapon you wanted to be killed with. It could be a machete, a club, a knife, a spear, or a big tree with nails. There was no gun, and even if there was, we couldn't afford it anyways. My father, who was hiding on the roof, like I said, was following the whole conversation. We then were asked to lay in the ditch on our stomachs, and we did. And my grandfather, again, who had a Bible in his hands, looked at them and said to them, "Why are you doing this to us? Jesus Christ loved all of us." And before he finished what he was saying, one of the guys jumped in the ditch and hit him with a club. I had already made my choice that I wanted to die by a club. And so they had asked a young man who had a club in his hands called John, that I knew very well, to kill me with that club. And so when this guy jumped in the ditch and hit my grandpa, they all jumped. My mom, that was close next to my brothers, her head was chopped off. And when I saw that, I covered my head with a hoodie and I was very scared. And that's when I was then hit by that man that I chose at the back of my head with a club, and I fell unconscious. I don't know how long I was unconscious for, but when I woke up, they were already digging, stepping on us, digging and covering the ditch. Everybody had died. My sister, who was next to me, had not died. So a few minutes later, she took her last breath and died. I was in that ditch bleeding through my nose and scared, and dead bodies on my legs. And now I'm in there with 15 dead bodies, because one of, like I said, it was 18 of us, but one lady had already left and they killed her on the way. And my mom's cousin that was with us had a baby, and she told them that the baby was a Hutu, the father was a Hutu, so they let her go. So we were 16 of us in that ditch. Laying in that ditch, I started screaming and yelling. At the age of 14, you really don't understand everything. But I then started thinking maybe my dad will come down and dig me out. But little did I know that my dad, after seeing his wife and children and his whole family killed, he had actually offered himself to die as well, and they had taken him away. So I was in that ditch for a very long time, and later on, a lady who was close by to where we were buried had my voice screaming and crying in that ditch, and she went and got someone who came and dug me out. The young man who dug me out was a young man who had worked for my grandfather. And afterwards, I was taken out of that ditch. That's when then I heard people screaming and chanting and yelling that my father had just been killed. They were celebrating his death. I lost hope. Later on, the following day, I was then hit by another man who was a Hutu, and he hit me until then the RPF got into my village to liberate the country. I was a broken girl. I was traumatized for a very long time. As a teenager, I lived and laughed with my other friends, but deep inside, I was lost. So today, as we will commemorate for the 26th time, it's been 26 years, but when we talk about it, when we think about it as survivors, it's as if it happened yesterday. And it's very sad to see that the genocide denial is still well and alive. The genocide ideology is still well and alive. And today my message will be, we all have a responsibility to fight against the genocide ideology and the genocide denial. We all know that denying the genocide against the Tutsis that happened in Rwanda is the very last stage of the genocide. So we all have that responsibility of fighting against that ideology. And another message that I have today as we commemorate for the 26th time is that survivors who are living in Rwanda or out of Rwanda are still suffering. Most of them have depression. They suffer from anxiety, nightmares, name it, all that kind of stuff. Women who were raped and contracted HIV/AIDS, they all need our help. We should all have the responsibility of standing with them as we commemorate. And this time, because of the COVID-19, it's even harder because people are locked behind their doors. We really don't have that opportunity to come together and commemorate together. Those survivors that live by themselves, that widow that lives by herself, maybe you should pick up a phone and call her and find out how she's doing during this time, because it's not easy when you've lost everything you've loved and known. So today, as we commemorate all of us, I wish you hope, peace, and strength. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you, Frida, for your testimony. And the next, we are going to have messages from different representatives of Rwanda community abroad. We have Jean-Pierre Uwiringiyimana, representative of Rwandan diaspora in Indonesia. We have Ngenzi Evariste, representative of Rwandan diaspora in New South Wales, Australia. We have Claude Manzi from Western Australia. He's the representative of Rwandan diaspora. We have Rwigamba AD, who is the representative of Rwandan diaspora in Queensland, and we have Mary Karara, representative of Rwandan diaspora in New Zealand. Let us all follow their messages. Thank you.
Jean-Pierre Uwiringiyimana ahagarariye abanyarwanda biga muri Indonesia. Mbere na mbere mbanje kubasuhuza mwese mu nyumva. Muri ibi bihe twibuka ku nshuro ya 26 Genocide yakorewe Abatutsi mu mwaka w'1994, mfashe uyu mwanya ngira ngo ngeze ubutumwa bwanjye ku banyarwanda cyane cyane urubyiruko. Genocide yakorewe Abatutsi yashegeshe igihugu cyacu bikomeye. Niyo mpamvu rero nk'urubyiruko rwifuza ejo heza h'igihugu cyacu, dukwiye guharanira ko Genocide itazongera kuba mu gihugu cyacu cyangwa ahandi hose ku isi. Dukwiye kandi kwirinda cyane cyane abapfobya Genocide yakorewe Abatutsi cyangwa abayihakana, tunirinda ingengabitekerezo ya Genocide aho iva ikagera. Aheza h'igihugu cyacu hari mu biganza by'urubyiruko. Mucyo rero dusenyere umugozi umwe, dufatane urunana kugira ngo ejo heza twifuza hazagerweho. Mboneyeho n'umwanya wo kwihanganisha abacitse ku icumu rya Genocide yakorewe Abatutsi muri ibi bihe twibuka abacu. Twibuke twiyubaka. Murakoze, mugire amahoro.
Dear compatriots and dear friends, yet again for the 26th time, in the midst of struggle against coronavirus, we are virtually gathered to remember more than 1 million innocent men, women, and children killed in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. On behalf of the Rwandan diaspora of New South Wales, I would like to express my sympathies and solidarity to our brothers and sisters, survivors of 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, in this difficult journey of healing the wounds left behind by the genocide. 26 years on, a lot have been achieved through our collective efforts. However, there are still many challenges ahead of us, biggest of all being genocide denial, which is becoming more prevalent in the diaspora in the modern times. Denial at the final stage of genocide strives to reshape history in terms of demonizing the victims and rehabilitating the offenders. Denial kills the dignity of survivors and seeks to destroy the memory of the crime. Those who deny the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda do it deliberately with the intent of destroying the truth. However, it should be recalled that denial is not something new in history of genocide, and the strategy to deny it has been the same, starting with Holocaust to the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. As we remember, unite and renew, we are all challenged as Rwandans, and more particularly members of Rwandan diaspora and friends of Rwanda, to tell our true story and in the process contribute to the healing process of the survivors. I thank you.
His Excellency Jean de Dieu Uwihanganye, High Commission of Rwanda based in Singapore, my fellow community leaders, Rwandans, and friends of Rwanda. I take this opportunity to welcome you and thank you for taking time as we unite to commemorate the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Today, as we remember for the 26th time, I send a word of comfort, strength, and peace to the victims of these atrocities and pay tribute to the survivors. Let us remember as we rebuild together. For many, this annual commemoration happens once a year in April, whatever for a number of Rwandans, in particular the survivors. It's a grief we carry on in the fabric of our daily lives. It's unfortunate that some of our fellow Rwandans deny the reality of the genocide against the Tutsi. Not only does the denial open wounds and causes offense to the survivors, but it denies the dignity of the deceased while mocking survivors. These practices must cease regardless of our journeys and experiences for the benefit of our young people who are the future of Rwanda. Rwandan's young people have everything needed to transform our country. They have the responsibility to take charge more and more and participate fully in securing the Rwanda we want and deserve. It therefore pivotal that in time like this, we stop, take time to look back, remember our history, our loved ones, and continue to aim a better unite and strive to build a stronger, resilient Rwandan community abroad which contribute positively to our motherland, Rwanda. We must never forget. May God bless us all and continue to heal and prosper Rwanda. Thank you.
Banyarwanda, Banyarwandakazi, namwe inshuti z'u Rwanda mutuye muri Queensland. Kuri uyu munsi turibuka Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi mu Rwanda mu mwaka w'1994 ku nshuro ya 26. Kuri iyi nshuro rero ntibyashobotse ko twibuka abacu mu buryo bisanzwe bitegurwamo, bitewe n'uko turi mu bihe bidasanzwe aho isi yose yugarijwe n'icyorezo cya coronavirus. Ariko ntibyatubujije kwibuka ku nshuro ya 26 kuko ari inshingano zacu nk'Abanyarwanda mu buryo bwo gusubiza icyubahiro abacu bishwe rubi bazira uko bavutse. Ubundi nk'uko bisanzwe muri Queensland twibuka Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi, dukora urugendo rwo kwibuka, amasengesho ndetse n'ibiganiro. Ariko uyu mwaka ntibyashobotse kubera ingamba zo gukumira icyorezo cya coronavirus. Tuboneyeho kwifatanya n'abarokotse Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi n'imiryango yabo, twibuka kandi twiyubaka, twamagana abayipfobya n'abahembera ingengabitekerezo yayo, kandi dukangurira urubyiruko kubima amatwi ahubwo rufate ya mbere kurwanya Jenoside n'ingengabitekerezo yayo, rushimangira ukuri kw'amateka, maze rukongera ingufu mu bikorwa by'ubumwe, urukundo, gushyira hamwe kuko ari b'ejo hazaza ha diaspora nyarwanda n'igihugu bakomokamo, bagaharanira kurinda ibyagezweho kugira ngo ibyabaye bitazongera kuba ukundi. Sinasoza nashimiye ingabo zahoze ari za RPA ziyobowe n'umukuru w'igihugu nyakubahwa Paul Kagame, zemeye guhara ubuzima bwazo icyo gihe zikarokora benshi bari bihebye batagifite icyerekezo cyo kongera kubona izuba. Nimuze twibuke twiyubaka, tudaheranwa n'ibihe by'ubwigunge, ahubwo tube urumuri rwiza rumurikira abaturi inyuma ari b'ejo hazaza h'umuryango nyarwanda muri diaspora ndetse n'igihugu. Mugira amahoro y'Imana.
Banyarwanda, Banyarwandakazi, namwe inshuti z'u Rwanda ndabasuhuje. Nitwa Karara, nkaba mpagarariye Abanyarwanda hano muri Nouvelle-Zélande. turibuka ku nshuro ya 26 twibuka Genocide yakorewe Abatutsi mu 1994. Iki ni igikorwa kitureba twese nk'Abanyarwanda. Twibutse mu buryo budasanzwe kubera COVID-19, ariko nitwubahiriza amategeko n'inama batugira, byose biraza gutungana. Nubwo bimeze bityo rero, ndabasaba ko twagerageza gufatana mu migongo ndetse tunakumira abo bakomeje guhakana Genocide yakorewe Abatutsi bafite n'ingengabitekerezo yayo. Nimureke twigishe urubyiruko gukunda u Rwanda n'Abanyarwanda bose, ibyabaye ntibizongere kubaho ukundi. Twibuke twiyubaka. Murakoze.
Ajya kuwa muko yabajije umubyeyi igituma papa we atamuza atamubona. Umubyeyi atuje yamujyanye mu cyumba amubwira ko se yakubiswaga wera, nyamara amwisha atigeze anabiryozwa. Yumva ikigatura gikebanyije ubwenge, yongeye kubaza umubyeyi wamureze, abona amushengura ahitamo kumureka. Nyuma gusobanukirwa ntibyatinze, kuko inshuro nyinshi yahizwe bukware. Mu 94 byose bijya guturika, ubwo imyitozo yabanje ubwo bwose yashyizwe ahagaragara u Rwanda rukazima. Yibaza niba yaragomeye Imana. Zahora nzirikana abana b'u Rwanda batsemwe bazira uko Imana ibahaye. Zaharanira ko bitongera kubaho. Imbarutso urwitwazo rwabaye indege, yahiriye i Kigali ku Kibuye baricwa. Bagutamaza umugambi wa kera, igihugu cyose gicura imiborogo. Barumuna be n'abakuru be nta n'umwe, n'akagakecuru kishwe by'urubozo. Yayobewe naho umurambo wapfuritswe, agarutse arenga bibereye u Rwanda. Akayira nk'aka kanditswe n'amagorwa, ni kamwe ku benshi banyuranyije amage. Kibutsa abacu twabuze kubakunda, tuzahirihirwe rurema itabi. Twibuka mwebwe mwizeraga Imana, mugana urusengero musaba kurokoka. Barabasanga bishi barabatikiza, abahibirembo ruvugiro bagenzi. Zahora nzirikana abana b'u Rwanda batsemwe bazira uko Imana ibahaye. Zaharanira ko bitongera kubaho. Mwasaranganyije inzira muhunga, umwajya mu gihuru isura atakibyumva. Undi mu nzitane z'amahwa bacika mureba mwebwe mwahisemo gutiza ababica guhitamo intambara ku buryo bushoboye gukoresha amabuye murwanya amasasu abatwara ubuzima mugenda gitwari wowe muri parafo warambye w'iminsi wo ku rusenge bamumanuye atabona murumuna wanyu yihishaga mu bwenge umuryango wose urazima uragenda nibuka imodoka yazanye nyakubyara niba umugore n'abana ngo arebe yatera kabiri imodoka baratwika ubimenye ujya ahagaragara barakwica zahora nzirikana abana b'u Rwanda batsembwe bazira uko Imana ibahaye zaharanira ko bitongera kubaho wowe wari ufite amafaranga unatunze bagumya kukunyaga bagushuka kukureka ugumya kwizera sakiyengera temba wagiye uganira n'abajya kukuroha imyaka ni myinshi ishize turabababaye inkumi ibihumbi tuzibuka iteka aho muri tuzi ko Imana iratuje tubasezeranyije kutazarana ibigwari aho muri tuzi ko Imana iratuje tubasezeranyije kutazarana ibigwari aho muri tuzi ko Imana iratuje tubasezeranyije kutazarana ibigwari aho muri tuzi ko Imana iratuje tubasezeranyije kutazarana ibigwari aho muri tuzi ko Imana iratuje tubasezeranyije kutazarana ibigwari.
Murakoze abahagarariye abanyarwanda muri Australia na Indonesia. We also have other guests. We have honorary consuls. We have General Honorary Consuls Michael Roux, Honorary Consul of the Republic of Rwanda in Australia, and we have Clare, Honorary Consul-General of the Republic of Rwanda in New Zealand. They are also going to share with us message regarding 26 genocide against Tutsi. Thank you. Let's hear from them. Thank you.
Your Excellency, as we reflect on this day, may I pay my respects to all the victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. May I offer my love and concern to all the surviving victims who continue to carry the scars, both physical and psychological. May I also acknowledge the impact on the wider community, wider global community, the Rwandan diaspora, including in Australia. Those of you who know the history of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi know it did not just start on April 7th, 1994. This was the climax of a concerted campaign of ethnic cleansing over decades. It exploded on April the 7th, 1994, while the world looked the other way. As a result, the killings lasted 100 days, killing over 1 million plus people. This was, without question, the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, as recognized in the official resolution of the United Nations. It was not defined as a war, and it was not defined as a double genocide. Against all the evidence, there are still people, included in Australia and New Zealand, who talk of denying the genocide or of it being a double genocide. This is so disrespectful to the 1 million people who died and those who have been left scarred. It is disrespectful to those who lost family members. It is disrespectful to Rwanda. Truth must prevail. Genocide deniers and fake victims distorting the truth need to be exposed. I say to those who want to deny the genocide against the Tutsi, question your motives, study the facts. Just stop the lies and self-justification. I say to the wider community, stand up for the truth and challenge the rewriting of history. Those who died deserved nothing less. Do not let these lies take root in innocent children and uninformed people. The world needs the truth. The world continually needs to fight against evil. Hate speech can turn up at anywhere and at any time. On a brighter note, Rwanda in recent years has made great strides. Most of all, it has shown hope, forgiveness, resilience, compassion, and love. And it has shown that these attributes can do much. In fact, they are the foundations on which modern Rwanda is built. And modern Rwanda has achieved much and will go on achieving. And the diaspora around the world will continue to support Rwanda and carry Rwanda in their hearts as they live in their newly adopted countries, just as in Australia. Life is short. We are all interconnected, as COVID-19 has demonstrated so acutely. Be kind to one another and maintain the truth. Stay healthy, stay strong. My best wishes to you and your families as you reflect on those events of 26 years ago. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Greetings from Aotearoa, New Zealand. While we are not together this year as usual to commemorate the genocide against Tutsi, we are not alone. In our bubbles in Auckland and other parts of New Zealand and around the world, our Rwandan community is one in remembering the terrible crimes against humanity committed in Rwanda 26 years ago. Most of you lived and suffered that experience, losing members of your family, losing your friends, and this at the hands of your fellow Rwandans who were drenched in the hatred of Hutu power. You will have your own very personal reflections today of those you lost and mourn. New Zealand's relationship with Rwandans goes back to those dark days. Our representative at the United Nations, notably Colin Keating, who many of you know, fought but unsuccessfully to try to force the United Nations to intervene, a step that could have saved thousands of lives. As the world looked the other way, the genocide against Tutsi raged for 100 terrible days. Those of you who reached our shores afterwards in Aotearoa, New Zealand, have made such good new lives. You've raised children you can be proud of, and you've contributed to an enriched life in New Zealand, as Rwandans have all throughout the world. You should feel safe in New Zealand, but as we know, COVID-19 is not the only virus we're fighting. The contagion of hatred lives on in genocide deniers and expresses itself, even in a country like ours, in words that seek to demean survivors and their families and their experiences, and deny the reality of what happened in the genocide against Tutsi. Words really matter. They can be a weapon used to dehumanize and dishonor, but we can use them too to continue to tell the real stories of what happened. We will not be deflected from bearing witness to the truth and remembering those who died in that beautiful land so far away. This time last year, New Zealand reeled from the horror of the mosque massacres in Christchurch, also born of hatred. At Kwibuka26, just a short time later, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern stood alongside us, as she had with those who suffered in Christchurch. New Zealand members of Parliament last year took a big step with an historic first visit to Rwanda by a parliamentary delegation, and they came back fired up with enthusiasm to tell their stories of Rwanda and to enhance the new relationships and understandings. We have more friends than the enemies. As Consul-General in New Zealand, I pledge to do my best for Rwanda and Rwandans living in this country. It's my honour to stand alongside you today, wherever you are. Heata te mea nui o te ao. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the most important thing in the world? It is people. It is people. It is people. Imane I karundi. Kia kaha.
Thank you, General Honorary Consuls, for your contributions to the Rwandan government. This time we are going to hear a message from His Excellency Dieu Uwihanganye, the High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda in Singapore, and the High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda in Australia, and the Designate High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda in New Zealand, and Ambassador of the Republic of Rwanda in Indonesia. He's going to share with us a message for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Yves. Your Excellency, Consul-General of Rwanda in Australia, Your Excellency, Consul-General of Rwanda in New Zealand, Rwandans, compatriots, families, and friends of Rwanda who are with us today, living in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, and here in Singapore. I want to start my speech today by honoring and paying our respect to the victim of genocide against the Tutsi. We will remember them forever. I also wanted to console all the genocide survivors who are with us today. We salute your courage and honor you, and we assure you that we are with you throughout all these 100 days of remembrance, and we will continue to be with you. We would have wished to be together with all of you physically in New Zealand, Australia, Indonesia, and also here in Singapore. But we are living in an unprecedented time. However, this cannot, nothing would never prohibit us from remembering hours we lost. Their courage throughout the persecution they have endured, and the resilience of the survivors is a right call for all of us Rwandans. We have just heard from Frida's testimony, and it reflects many of the survivors' testimonies we live with communities, especially here in the diaspora. Despite that, the constant intentional misinformation, including genocide denials by some Rwandans and their allies, are incessant in our community, mainly in Australia and New Zealand. Today, as we remember, it should be a wake-up call that we need to play our role actively in countering that. We can do that by publicly denouncing those who spread such hate, both on social media and in our communities, and share the right information on genocide against the Tutsi and Rwanda. Today, I also want to give a special call to the young people, many of whom are present with us today in their families. They are the hope of the future of Rwanda. 26 years ago, the RCA soldier stopped the genocide, and for that, we are very grateful. They were at the same age as most of you and us. Their generation played a role in stopping the genocide against the Tutsi and building Rwanda afterwards. We will forever be grateful. We as the young generation of the Rwandan community, especially living abroad, we need to actively join the fight against the genocide ideology and genocide denial. A few of our fellow nationals in these countries, mainly in Australia, are joining the denial. Let us play our part in ensuring the end of the victim suffering and the resilience of the survivors. I thank you all in our jurisdiction who have joined us today. As we continue to remember, let us unite and renew. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you all for coming to be with us during this event for the 26th commemoration of the genocide against Tutsi. And we wish you all the best and stay safe in these difficult times. Have a good day.
Kwibuka ubupfura bwabo ndetse n'ubutwari, ndetse tunabataka ibigwi erekana abacu baturaze ubutwari. Mureke twibuka abacu, twibuka ubupfura bwabo ndetse n'ubutwari, ndetse tunabataka ibigwi erekana abacu baturaze ubutwari. Hora Rwanda, Rwanda rw'Abanyarwanda, hora Rwanda, hora Rwanda, hora Rwanda, Rwanda komera ushikame, hora Rwanda. Mureke twibuka abacu, twibuka ubupfura bwabo ndetse n'ubutwari, ndetse tunabataka ibigwi erekana abacu baturaze ubutwari. Mureke twibuka abacu, twibuka ubupfura bwabo ndetse n'ubutwari, ndetse tunabataka ibigwi erekana abacu baturaze ubutwari.